Hey guys, how you doing? Tekking here. I'm just gonna warn you here at the offset, I seem to be developing some sort of chest cold kind of deal. Don't really know where that's going yet, but if I cough a little bit or have a little bit of a runny nose throughout the video, I apologize. I actually have been really fortunate. I have not gotten sick in like about a year and a half, 2 years, and I'm very lucky for that. I thought I was invincible, Barry. Oh my hubris! My hubris. Okay, but today's video, we're going to be talking about something a little different. Dr. Stone. I've talked about Dr. Stone before, but honestly not as much as I really should, because I really love this freaking manga. You see Senku chilling out back here? Yeah, that's how you know I like it. By the way, have you noticed, I'm probably the only one that noticed this, but did you ever realize that Senku's hair looks like a leek? Yeah. Just got that, right? Crazy. Alright, so, part 3 of Dr. Stone in the manga just ended. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the future of the manga. We're going to be talking a lot of spoilers today, alright? So if you're just an anime-only watcher, which, by the way, Season 2, I don't think it's been announced when it will happen yet. It's definitely happening. I just don't know when the release date is. I'm imagining Season 2 of Dr. Stone is going to be like this year, because I was really kind of nervous when Season 1 aired. I'm like, oh, I really love this series. I really hope a lot of other people too. I hope people took to it. That was what I was really like nervous about. Like, this might be one of those things where it gets like 12 episodes and then just nobody pays attention to it anymore. But no, I was so happy. They got like 20 plus episodes, and it seems like people are really feeling Dr. Stone. So I'm thinking they're gonna get Season 2 out as quickly as possible. Okay, so we're just gonna keep this train moving. Okay, but yeah, if you're only a fan of the anime, probably not the video for you here, because we touch upon a lot of stuff that doesn't get involved until much later in the manga. Alright, so I don't even know where to begin with this, okay? This finale of this arc has been kind of up and down for me. There's been parts that are kind of like stretching it out a little bit longer than I would have liked. Basically, when they get to the island and they were just like, alright, now we have to go and collect everybody and we have to make makeup for Kohaku and everything. Like, those were fun chapters, but a lot of them, I think you could have just like sped this along a little bit faster. But let me tell you, the climax of this arc, so we're talking like the last 5-6 chapters or so, that had me on the edge of my seat. Really, when it came down to Senku and Ibara, and I was like, oh, okay, that's like, that. I got the feeling where, like, you're playing a game and you're like, your character's down to like 1 HP, and it's like, okay, you could still win, but you screw up once and you're kind of done, right? Okay, and that had me really intense, and then I can't explain to you the elation I felt when, finally they defeated Ibara. They managed to, they did that one last gambit there with Ryusui. Ryusui got, like, petrified and depetrified, like, 3 damn times in this arc. I love it. And every time he does it in an awesome pose, because he's freaking Ryusui. So yeah, the last gambit with Ryusui, and then we get the freaking petrification, and you get, attaches the earring to it, and he's like, I won! I've done it! 5 meters, 1 second. Wait, what? And I'm like, yes! He did it! Like, you know he's gonna do it because he's Senku. I'm just saying the tension of the battle really got to me near the end, alright? And, let me tell you, the chapter that just came out, like, a few days ago, like, there's been a few times in my life where I'm literally, like, waiting every single day, like, I can't wait for this chapter. It's happened to me a few times. Like, I remember the one was when, back in Bleach, when Ukiura first went into his release form, where he's about to release Musalago. That was one, and, like, I was in high school. I was, like, every day that week, I was like, I can't wait to see what happens, I can't wait to see what happens, I can't wait to see what happens. It happened in One Piece with the time skip. It happened a couple of times in One Piece, but let me tell you, that feeling, I definitely felt it last week, and that's the feeling you want to have with reading manga, right? That's the real feeling, because, you know, all the chapters pretty much end on a cliffhanger, so you're like, okay, which ones are the best cliffhangers? And this one, I just felt like, okay, the battle's finally over, Senku's got the petrification device, all the crazy stuff he could do with this, he's gonna study it, we're gonna figure out finally what it is, where does it come from? Like, I was thinking of all the different angles you could take this, so I was really, really interested in how it was going to go. So yeah, let's just talk about the last chapter then that happened, alright? So just give you a brief recap of that. Senku, the first thing he does is, you know, he makes the revival fluid, he brings back Chrome as, like, the first person he revives, which makes sense, you know, his, like, tag team science partner, and it's like, as soon as Chrome wakes up, he's just like, well, you're here, Senku. You're bleeding a little bit, but you're here, so I guess that means we won. It's like, damn straight we won, bro. It's just like, yeah, we did it. All right, and so they revive Taiju and Frankos, and they also revive Amaryllis from the island, and then they slowly begin to revive everybody else. And then it's like, all right, so we got the petrification device. Everything's copacetic, right? Everything's awesome. I was curious, actually, what they were going to do with Ibarra. I don't know if I was the only person that was thinking, like, that might seem like the stupidest thing on the planet to revive him right after you captured him, you defeated him. But I'm like, well, to be fair, he's probably the only person on the island that actually knows what the hell is going on, right? So I was thinking, like, hey, could you, like, rip off his arms and legs and his mouth? You know, I guess not. You guess you need his mouth, and then you just take the petrification weapon far, far away from him, chain him up, and then revive him, and be like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with my arms?" It's like, you'll get him back if you answer some questions, Ibarra. But it's like, let's leave that on the back burner for right now, okay? Because you see how much trouble it took to get us to this point. Probably not a good idea to immediately revive the guy that was trying to kill us for like 30 chapters, okay? So, when it comes to like Mozu and Hyoga, yeah, they don't touch those guys. I'm sure they're gonna be revived at some point later on. They're not just gonna, just like throw them off to the side. But for right now, it's probably best to leave them the way they are. They revived Kirisame. And I was like, all right, that makes sense. I mean, she was very clearly manipulated by Ibarra. Like, Mozu had his own thing. Mozu was like, I don't really like Ibarra. I'm only listening to him kind of because he has all the cards. He has the petrification weapon. He knows how to use it. So Mozu was more driven by his own, like, lust and also just his own desires for power and things, right? So Mozu would be a lot more difficult to control because he really thinks for his own a lot. Kirisame, on the other hand, though, really did believe in Ibarra. She really did feel like, oh yes, Ibarra, you are using the divine power of the great leader that he bestowed upon you. Yes, I will listen to your every will because it is the will of the great leader, and I love the great leader, you know? So when Kirisame finally found out the truth about Ibarra, that whole worldview was shattered, and it's like, okay, we can trust her. So they bring back Kirisame. We didn't really get a lot of her, though, in that chapter, not too much. I love there was a scene with Magma where he was just like, hey, can we just, like, smash her a little bit, before they revived her? He's like, what? How could you casually talk about murder like that? He's like, well, it's not murder if it's a statue, right? I'm like, I don't know. That leads into so many different ethical and philosophical questions in this story. I'm just gonna hit her with a rock. I'm like, don't hit her with a rock. Hold on, bring her back, okay? Arashi, Arashi, they brought him back too, the captain of the guard there. And so I guess they're just gonna try to bring them over to their side, which would be pretty easy with their, like, the science and all that stuff. They have a little party on the ship, the Perseus, and they're like, we got cola, we got ramen, we have all this delicious food. It could be yours. So, yeah, I guess they're adding a few more numbers. I don't know if they're going to revive, like, every single bowl-cutted, tribesman on the island. Maybe they will, aside from, like, the ones that were giving them the most problem, like Mozu and Ibarra, obviously. But I don't know what they're going to do with that. I was expecting, honestly, them to, and they still might do this, but, like, they had their major issue. It was, like, fixing the radio and everything and contacting Ruri at the village. But I still want them to just see them, like, explore the island a little bit, because it's like, okay, we got the island under our control now. Let's explore it a little bit to see if now we can actually go into the village and not worry about being, captured or, like, turned to stone. We could just go in the village. Like what about Ibarra's house? Like, that's the first thing. I like wherever Ibarra was living, he's got some dirty secrets there somewhere, right? He's got something written down, or maybe something the great leader had, or maybe he kept a journal or something, so you don't necessarily have to revive him. I mean, he was a very cautious guy, so maybe nothing like that. But he might have something in his house that he can, like, he had that, Senku can learn a little bit more about the petrification weapon. Like, maybe Ibarra was trying to figure out how it worked, and he learned a few things about it over the years. I mean, he's primitive, but he's had the device for like 20-something years or something, so he's probably learned some more things about it, probably. So yeah. I was thinking they might still do something like that, but they go back to the Perseus. They fix all the comms and everything, because here's something I didn't even think about. But last chapter, when Senku finally defeated Ibarra with Ryusui's help, he gets that call from Ruri at the end, and it's just like, Senku, are you faring well? And Senku had the moment where he's like, yeah, that's right, I'm not alone anymore. But you also start to think, like, Man, that is massively convenient, right? That Ruri, she doesn't call the entire arc, and then she, boom, decides to call right at that moment. So Senku's like, no, she wasn't calling just to check up on us to see how we were doing. No, there's a reason why she called. So the battery and the receiver dies, so they have to go onto the ship, and they contact her. And the reason Ruri called was, Senku, you've been sending us a very weird message. And Senku's like, huh. And then all of a sudden, the transmission just gets overridden, just washed over by an even stronger transmission. And of course, we all know who that's going to be, because there's only one other person around right now. Well, there's Rei, but she's a robot, so she's up in space, and she's a sexy, busty robot now. So that's not really, doesn't count as a person. Okay, Rei is a person, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not her, so who else is it? All right, guys, it's the Y-Man, right? And this is where things get good. This is where things get really creepy, freaky, science-y good, alright? So they're talking to Ruri, and then the transmission just gets overridden by the Y-Man, and then you just hear 12,800,000 meters 1 second, 12,800,000 meters 1 second. And there's a moment where Kohaku, oh, by the way, Kohaku and Senku hug in this chapter. It's adorable. I love it. But no, so Kohaku's got the petrification weapon. Like, she has it here. The speakers are, like, there. And obviously, we've already established that in order for the petrification weapon to work, in order for the words to actually, like 5 meters, 1 second, you have to be, like, right next to it in order for it to work. We haven't actually discovered the distance yet. In fact, I think that's one of the tests that Senku is definitely probably going to make with the weapon when he has the time to do it. Exactly how far away do you need to be exactly for this thing to work? You know, because when Ibara was at the back of the car and the speaker there, that didn't work, but it did work when the earring was attached to it. You have to be right up close and personal. So if Kohaku was standing with that weapon like a couple of feet closer to the speakers, they would have been screwed right there, and everyone's freaking out, and except Senku. Senku is actually really nonchalant about it. He's just like, oh yeah, I know, we need to make sure to keep that away from the speakers if our lives depended on it, because they pretty much do. So I'm like, okay, Senku, I mean, that's really, really close you came to biting it there, right? So Kohaku, please take that thing to the other side of the ship, right? Maybe wrap it in some sort of cloth, you know, to muffle the sound or something, please. But no, okay, so the Y-Man comes on and he starts announcing 12,800,000 meters 1 second, which is rounded up. That's the diameter of the entire Earth, okay? So the Y-Man knows how to round up! That's scary shit right there. And so everyone's freaking out over this, but even more so than that, Ukyo he's listening to it. He's like, yeah, that's really bad, Senku, but what's worse is that's your voice that is coming on the other side of this. And so you get the creepy image of, I love Boichi's artwork, the creepy image of, like, the Y-Man. He's, like, all scaly and skeletal and, like, skin flaking off, but you actually do get to see, like, it looks like Senku at the end of the chapter, like, 12,800,000 meters 1 second, 12 meters, 800,000 feet, I'm mixing meters and feet, 12,800,000 meters 1 second, you know? So, yeah, that's how the chapter ends, right? Okay, so I've seen a lot of people, because you could take this a bunch of ways. I've seen a lot of people saying, like, time travel is a thing, parallel universes are a thing. To throw my idea what it is, and I did see a few people talking about this as well, Barry. Wait, does anybody have any nitric acid? I want to test that on Barry. Maybe. But anyway, no. He turns into a perfectly rectangular human being. Alright, but no. So I think what this is, and this actually goes back, there's like a theory that Matt Pat talked about on Game Theory, which I really did like. I saw people mentioning it even before Matt Pat made his video, but the idea that the petrification weapon, the way that it works is through, like, nanomachines, and from what we've seen so far in the story, I think that's totally legit. Not even from just the stuff that Matt Pat mentioned in the theory video, but also just the fact of the way that the petrification device looks and everything. I'm thinking the nanobots, nanomachines idea makes a lot of sense, and Matt Pat also threw out the idea that the main enemy of Dr. Stone is an AI, and I'm like, you know what, I could totally see that making sense. I see a lot of people saying that Rei was the Y-Man the whole time, and I'm like, no. Rei is too pure to be the Y-Man, alright? She is up there as a sexy, busty robot on her brand new, happy butterfly space station, and she will reappear at some point in the story. If you have not read the Dr. Stone reboot Byakuya side story, please, for the love of God, go and read that, because Rei is so precious. But anyway, no. I'm thinking the idea that it is an AI, and what it's actually doing, because remember, Senku tried to communicate with the Y-Man before. The Y-Man began to communicate just through Morse code, like dots and dashes, just over and over again, and it was translated to Y. Well, it's been quite a while since the last time they had a transmission, and they finally received the transmission again, and the AI perhaps is just copying Senku's voice, like a voice recognition, where Senku was trying to communicate with the Y-Man, took a sample of Senku's voice, reconstructed it, you know, because we can do that with modern day technology. One thing they actually just did is they have on your Amazon Echo, if you have one, they actually incorporated various celebrity voices into the Echo. So they have like Samuel L. Jackson's voice for the Amazon. Alexa, ask Sam how the weather is today.
Currently in Colver, it's 30 degrees Fahrenheit with mostly sunny skies. Today, you can expect snowy, rainy weather with a high of 39 degrees and a low of 30 degrees.
That sucks. But anyway, no. Seriously, I mean, it sucks about the weather, but no. So I don't think they had Samuel L. Jackson in a room like saying every town of every single state in the United States to make this work, or in the plan of the world, right? They had him sit down, say a few things, and then the voice recognition could just patch it together from that point onward after you get a few syllables and things. So I'm thinking that's, if this AI really is like the final villain of the story, I'm thinking that's what it probably did, right? It copied Senku's voice. Now, the people of the village are not going to understand anything about this, right? Although Gen is capable of mimicking voices, so maybe they'll think, like, you know, someone like that is like Gen, but no, I think Senku will have to explain to them. I could see Magma reacting to this. I could see Magma being like, I knew he was a bad guy all along! See right there! That's his voice! He's trying to kill us all! We need to defeat Senku, everybody! Come on! You heard him! And it's like, no, you don't get it. Like, it's possible that it's not me, you idiot. You can copy voices. It's not that hard, right? Even, you know, Gen is capable. So, yeah, I'm thinking that's probably the case there. Now, the big thing, though, is the Y-Man was silent for like over a year while they were building the Perseus, and decides to chime in right around the time that Senku acquires the Petrification weapon with the exact message of 12,800,000 meters, 1 second. 12,800,000 meters, 1 second. So, I'm thinking that device, on top of being able to, you know, put people in the, you know, the petrification and all that stuff, there's also some sort of like receiver or tracer, tracker, whatever you want to call it, GPS locator. There's also something with that petrification device where the Y-Man was able to realize Senku has it in his possession. And then as soon as Senku's, like when Senku was speaking to Ibara, the petrification device, like, received Senku's voice, and that sent a signal to the Y-Man, like, Senku is in, you know, speaking distance of the petrification device, and then that's when the message started going out and just flooding the airwaves with that really strong signal that was trying to petrify everybody else again. Yeah, that's something interesting. I mean, of course, the biggest question out of everything here is how the hell did this petrification device even end up on this island? I think that's the question everybody wants to know about, right? I was hoping that Senku was going to talk to, I mean, I guess Amaryllis doesn't know, but Kirasame might know, or at least she might have heard something from Ibara, but Ibara would probably definitely know where it originated from, because it wasn't, I mean, maybe he wouldn't. See, that's the thing, that's the weirdest thing of where this damn thing came from, right? Because when Byakuya and everybody landed on the random, you know, treasure island way back when, obviously it wasn't there then, right? And so at some point in the intermediate time it happened. I was actually, here's another idea. The Y-Man, we seem to understand, is really against humanity building back up from scratch. That seems to be the case. I mean, there could always be a twist at some point and be like, it's not actually a bad AI, or it's a good AI, or it's not a bad person, it's a good person, or whatever. But from right now in the story, it seems that whatever entity the Y-Man is wants humanity to go back to stone, go back to sleep, and it seems to be against the progress that humanity is making. So, how about this? How about at some point during the 3,700 years, one of the descendants of Byakuya, or one of the astronauts, was like Senku. not quite as smart as Senku, obviously, because they wouldn't have lived in the modern world, but still, like, maybe like Chrome, but just like a little bit more, smarter than Chrome. And like trying to build humanity back up from scratch. And actually, because it's been 3,700 years, so maybe a couple of hundred years, that person actually kind of was succeeding, like beginning to like build it back up. And then the Y-Man noticed that that person was getting a little further and like about to discover some stuff, like a natural born genius. And the Y-Man was like, no, 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 can't go back. And then the Y-Man, or whatever it is, provided the petrification weapon to the villagers to use it. And then is like that person got petrified again, and then it went back to, like, all right, nope, okay, we were getting a little bit advanced there, but now we're back to Stone Age. We're good, right? Maybe it was something like that, because it was well before Ibarra's time and even Soyuz's father's time that they had the weapon, because Soyuz's father was the previous great leader, and he was like, this weapon's been our, this item has been in our family for generations, so it's been around for a while. So there's another story that needs to be told here in between, Byakuya and the astronauts, and then, Senku waking up. There's something else that happened in the middle around here where this petrification weapon got in the hands of these villagers, and they figured out how to use it for as long as they did, right? So the best person that would probably have a good idea on that right now is Ibarra, but waking that guy up again is kind of, think, maybe too risky. So probably gonna have to watch. You'd have to be really, really careful. You'd have to, like, chain him up and then take the petrification weapon far away from him, and then you'd have to, interrogate him, and hopefully he would answer your questions. And after he was done, when you were far away from the petrification weapon, you'd have to be like, all right, 5 meters, 10 minutes, and then start walking back, and then, have to, like, tape up Ibarra's mouth so he doesn't do it again. And it's like, all right, here you go. And then you have to be really careful, but you could do it. So what are they going to do? I'm going to end this video by just talking about, like, what's the very next thing that everybody's going to do? Okay, well, I think the smart thing to do here would not continue on the journey immediately. Spend a little bit time on the island, learn as much as you can, and then immediately head back to Ishigami Village in Japan, because it only took a couple hours to get from, Treasure Island to the, mainland, so it's okay. So go back, because you have the weapon now, use that to, petrify Tsukasa, and wake Tsukasa back up, because now, like, that, like, you understand, like, the main point of this entire manga is pretty much, like, solved up until, like, the mystery of how it actually happened. That's, like, the great mystery in the Y-Man, of course, but, like, figuring out the petrification and being able to, purify, like, revive people, that they have both of those now. They have the petrification, and they have the revival fluid, and they have the platinum, so they can make an infinite supply of that. That was really what this part 3 was all about. So now, yeah, go back to Japan, petrify Tsukasa, bring him back, and maybe you could bring him on board for the final journey, because also, like, if this arc is going to be the final arc, that wasn't confirmed or anything, I'm just throwing it out there, like, okay, they're now going to make the journey to South America, that might very well be the longest arc in the last arc of Dr. Stone. It's possible, it could be, that wasn't said, but it could be. I mean, I would want all the main cast for that, so that means Tsukasa. I would want Tsukasa for that, I would want Hyoga to be there, and everybody as they go to the other side of the world, right? But yeah, that would be the smart thing to do, and also Senku can run some tests on the device. So, like, is like, all right, Chrome, stand over there and, like, stand 20 meters away from the device. I'm gonna set the device down, and you give it a command and see if it registers. And, Chrome is like, 1 meter, 5 seconds. Nope, all right, step 5 meters closer. All right. 5 meters, 1 second. Nope, keep going. And it's like they have to figure out, like, the exact, like, maybe the decibel range, and also, like, the distance. Like, it has to be within 2 meters. It's like a stand, has to be within 2 meters, or else it doesn't register at all. So maybe something like that, right? So yeah, that's what's going on with Dr. Stone right now. We'll see where this goes. Moving on into part 4. Senku, Stone is unbreakable, right? Okay, yeah, that's what we're doing here, just continuing with the JoJo references. Yeah, so we'll see where that goes. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out. Taking one small step from hero, I'll take a chance. I gotta work on my impeccable singing voice. I'll be back.